about that. I just muted everyone. Sorry, as you were about to say hello. My apologies. So welcome everyone to the call. My name is Justin Phillips, and I'm streaming in from beautiful southeast Queensland, Bribie Island. And my wife and I here, Nicole, we are very passionate about empowering people with their health and their wealth and quality of life and freedom. And today's webinar and interview is another extraordinary session with the amazing Jost Sauer, aka the Lifestyle Medicine Man. And today we're going to be talking about tips for happy relationships, which is pretty cool since they are a vital part of our life. So before we get started, just a request for your cooperation, not to record this call, and please not to distribute it to mass media or social media sites. It is actually being recorded today and Facebook Live into the Renew with Redox Facebook group. And if this is your first time on the call or watching the recording, then please, ask to be joined into the person who invited you to the call, ask them to invite you into that group so that you can see all the wonderful content and information in there. There's a heap about the Redox products, but there's also all of your video interviews and so forth. So yeah, heaps of cool stuff. So I am guessing that many of you are looking to improve your health and well-being and quality of life, and relationships is a fundamental part of that. And in my 26 years now in the health and wellness industry, from paramedics to working in gyms to owning health food shops, natural therapies clinics, being a practitioner, doing personal training, I realized that listening is the #1 skill of success in life, and how things are at home and how my relationships are with my family and my colleagues and friends has a huge impact on my performance and my wellness. So we're looking at a holistic view, and we're going to gain some amazing gold nuggets of insight from the amazing Jost from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective of how that plays out. So Jost was born in 1958 in Germany. He is actually a doctor of Chinese medicine. He's done a whole lot of stuff in structural balancing and obviously traditional Chinese medicine, sports injury. He began as a therapist in 1991. And I actually met him when he was a supervisor of the student acupuncture clinic at the Australian College of Natural Medicine when I was studying there. And he's owned and operated centers, worked internationally with celebrity clients, done all sorts of amazing things. Health and fitness is always a major passion, and Jost's background does include competitive national skiing at a national level for snow skiing, bodybuilding, triathlon, Ironman training. When he discovered Kung Fu and Tai Chi, he realized that fitness is only a part of the equation and that vitality is the other. And that led to decades more research into how to live and how to use nutritional supplements, an optimal diet, therapeutic exercise, weightlifting, martial arts, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga to make you feel good. But when Jost added in the 24-hour movement of Qi, a kind of Chinese body clock, Chinese medicine body clock, and that connects the day-to-day activities to the natural cycles and developed his Qi cycle lifestyle, this was the ultimate in lifestyle medicine. It's founded on thousands of years of traditional Chinese medicine, and with over 30 years of Jost's academic research, practical observations from living it, Jost has proven time and time again just how powerful it is. So, huge welcome to the call, Jost. Thank you for joining us today. I probably managed to mute you as well. There you go. Hey, how are you today?
Good. Well, a nice day, winter day with 25 degrees already.
It's gorgeous here in southeast Queensland. Blue skies, happy days. Yeah, absolutely. We've been out for a walk, and shorts and a very light jumper, and it's the middle of winter. So how good's that?
It's a great location for happy relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So look, super keen to dive into this. I know you and I had a chat the other day about it, and it is really, the world is becoming, for many people, more challenging in its demand. It's busy, and there's a lot of pressure on relationships. Statistically speaking, marriages, long-term relationships they are suffering relative to older ways. And, you brought up some pretty interesting concepts the other day about how we used to live in a paradigm where, our intimate partner relationship, was really a matter of survival and procreation, and now how it's moving into a totally different realm. So, love to hear you share some of this with the group today, and the other insights you've got for us.
Yes, I've Chinese medicine obviously got lots to say about this. And because relationships are what makes life. And Chinese medicine is contextual. So everything is in relationship too. So the whole medicine already is based on relationships. The relationship between yin and yang, the relationship of the 5 elements, the relationship of the 4 forces. It's an observation of relationships permanently. And they got about 5,000 years to draw from. So, but when it comes to relationships in terms of romantic relationships, obviously that's a fairly new phenomenon, because in the old days, people didn't get together to be happy or to become happy. They got together in order to survive and to have offsprings and a franchise. And so it's only in our later times that people are drawn to someone in order to have a happy life. But that intent is great, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with having a great life, right?
So, but then obviously it shows that there's more to learn about it, yes? And this is where Chinese medicine is coming into play once again, because Chinese medicine has always looked at relationships as a complex balancing act. So the Chinese medicine has observed the interaction between these polar forces and has realized it's a very complex balancing act. And so when it comes to a happy relationship, it's basically, very in simple words, it is the ability to balance yin and yang. And when it comes to yin and yang, obviously from that perspective, it goes into a rabbit hole of all kinds of applications that never end in terms of the exploration and the application. But in a nutshell, yin is about receiving, yang is about giving. Yin is about the ability to be in the moment. Yang is the ability to create the moment. So yin is the ability to listen. Yang is the ability to speak. So now you got the essence of relationships, yeah?
Yeah. And I love it that, you're sharing this, and maybe this is the first time people have heard about it, but TCM and the whole, the yin yang philosophy, it creates a structure for people to understand life and to live a better life. And it has all these qualities that we can break it down and comprehend the sometimes incomprehensible, like relationships.
Yeah, it's just like when yin and yang are balanced, everything is happy. Because the yin wants to receive the partner. Yang wants to engage with the partner. So yin means I am worthy. Yang is I am strong. And if yin and yang become imbalanced or depleted, that's the cause of relationship problems, because suddenly the person can't listen, or the person overpowers, or the person becomes demanding, or the person has lost interest in sex, or the person wants too much sex. And now you've got like all kind of like issues arising as a result of yin and yang not balanced. And simply speaking, like when the yin is down, self-image is low, sex drive is low. When the yang is low, we want to hibernate, we don't want to engage, we don't want to speak, we want to express, we don't want to express. So when it comes to relationship counseling and problems, it's usually around that. Usually it's the husband who doesn't seem to listen. And it's usually the wife who doesn't want to receive the husband. And so all that is basically a yin and yang configuration that needs to be looked at. Very simple. And Chinese medicine doesn't go into the context of, into the area of counseling as such. It looks at more as, okay, how can we actually nourish yin and yang? Because if you nourish yin and yang, you are receptive to the partner you want to receive. That means you are able to listen. That means you want to engage. That means you are able to express the emotion, the exact feeling. That means the yin wants to listen to the emotion. The yang wants to engage with the emotion so that the emotion can be received. And now you've got a cycle that builds up towards a higher impetus and then leads to a higher realization. So if we know how to balance yin and yang, we also know how to have a happy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where in Chinese medicine, we always focus on the inner first in order to identify what's actually going on here, what's lacking, what do we need to observe. So Chinese medicine has been saying ever since the beginning of time that the key to a happy relationship starts with self-awareness, being aware about the self. If I can see myself, able to tend into feeling myself, and then able to express about that self, I actually have the foundation in place to develop a happy relationship. If I don't have self-awareness, it's going to be an endless struggle. So self-awareness is basically the first step. We need to become mindful about who we are. And obviously that's great new age talk. It sounds all very good on paper. Chinese medicine is very practical. It looks at what does it really mean and how can we do what we can do about it. And what Chinese medicine says is that suppressed emotions and suppressed anger is the cause of problems. So in suppressed anger, suppressed emotions is the cause of ill health. But in Chinese medicine, suppressed anger and suppressed emotions is also the cause of dysfunctional relationships. So obviously self-awareness takes me down into the ability to read my emotions and my anger. And then with the ability to understand how to work with yin and yang, I'm able to move it. I move the emotion, I move the anger. So once it's moving, there can't be any triggers in place. We can't get triggered. So in Chinese medicine, it is said that the trigger can only trigger us if there is an obstruction in the first place. So that obstruction is due to suppressed anger or suppressed emotion. So when people fall in love, obviously what happens, the qi moves through the liver and everything is happy. So it goes to the surface of the inner world and the person feels everything's fine and they're happy. And now this person is actually finally making me happy. Because without the person, I am transcended into my inner world and I feel my anguish, my pain, my anger. If I fall in love, it overrides that. And now the person makes me happy. So that, according to Chinese medicine, lasts for about, that stimulation in the liver lasts for about 9 months to 18 months. So you would call that the romance time.
Yeah, the honeymoon period.
In the honeymoon period. Now the stimulation is not there anymore. And what happens now, the awareness transcends into the inner world. And now the anger comes forward, or the person becomes aware of their suppressed anger. So without the self-awareness in place, the triggers are now in place to be triggered. So now the partner will do something that will out-trigger the suppressed emotion. And now, obviously, with the lack of self-awareness and the ability to read oneself, the partner gets blamed.
Yeah. Starts to project on each other.
Yeah. So, but now the partner also transcends into the inner world, and the suppressed emotions also come forward. And now they're obviously triggered to the trigger by reacting to the trigger. And now you obviously got a minefield. And now the situation goes into expressing lots of the inner energetics that have nothing to do with the relationship. It's a property of the person, but it's not the domain of the relationship. But now the relationship is considered the problem. But it's got nothing to do with the relationship.
Yeah, totally. It's so tragic. I see it so common. People get to around that 2-year period, and initially they may have been like madly in love, and at 2 years it's like it's all over Red Rover, and it's a disaster, and it's like, I think I know what happened there. You got really distracted with each other, and that was awesome, but the underlying stuff is still there. Yeah.
So it comes down to how can I get in touch with my suppressed emotions, and because if I get that sorted, I am in charge of the trigger.
Yeah.
Because the fact is that when I get triggered, it's because of my inner world. It's not because of the outer. So I can't get triggered without the inner world being available for that trigger. That is not New Age talk. That's 5,000 years of thinking of Chinese medicine. that has now infiltrated in the new age, and a lot of people adapt it. But Chinese medicine, once again, has got practical approach to the situation. And they obviously approach everything systematically. So when it comes to having happy relationships, there are 5 categories it falls under. And so I'm going to take this through this today, because those 5 categories determine if the relationship will be happy. Because in Chinese medicine, we understand that the longer we are together, the more profound the connection, the deeper the connection, the higher the potential for happiness. Whereas the early stages of a relationship hasn't got the depths yet. So in Chinese medicine, we actually need to build the connection. And it's like Tai Chi. The longer you do it, the better it gets. Or like yoga, the longer you do it, the better it gets. Or meditation, the longer you do it, the more profound it becomes, the more you can rely on it, the more you trust the process. And so that's obviously in Chinese medicine why we focus on having the relationship in place for long term rather than short term. But I'll talk about it later in category 5, unless it's not destined to be together. And I talk about it in category 5, what that means.
Yeah.
Because Chinese medicine, once again, also got observations about that. If it's not meant to be, the relationship makes us ill, or makes us unhealthy, then we have to terminate the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's possible to be working on the relationship, then we need to look at yin and yang. And once we got that in place, and automatically we will move towards a really rewarding connection that builds and builds and builds, and it becomes like infinite. According to Chinese medicine, it becomes an infinite connection. That means the soul will actually grow that connection over several lifetimes. The same as with Tai Chi, it takes several lifetimes to learn. The same as relationships, like that development towards that connection can be forever. Yes, so as long as the people understand it's a game of yin and yang, the balancing act of yin and yang, and that it's whatever comes forward, it's not the relationship, it's the personal issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to do that, it provides strategies. And those strategies actually are linear in progress. They are progression towards the highest. So number 1 is we need to learn how to calm the mind. So if the mind is not calm, we will be having erratic ideas about the connection. If it's calm, we get clarity about the relationship. So for example, we talked about it so many times with the swimming pool water. If there's water in the pool and there's lots of dirt in it, the visibility when you swim in there is 20 centimeters. Mm-hmm. So you obviously, in that state, you will react. Like if you're in the ocean and visibility is 20 centimeter, the mind will create a 20-foot shark about half a meter away from you.
Yeah.
And another shark on the other side. Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously that means the heart rate will go up, and the situation will go into fear and fright, and it will go into struggle of survival. So meaning in a relationship, if the mind is not calm, we don't have visibility. We don't have clarity. If we don't have clarity, we'll be automatically in a frantic mode. Frantic mode means we are under threat. Yeah. So if we are under threat, we automatically perceive the other person. We need to lash out before the shark gets us. We're going to become frantic. We need to swim back to shore. We need to get out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So calming the mind means you got visibility of 40, 50 meter in clear water, and all what you see is beautiful coral. And suddenly it's safe. So now the mind has the ability to perceive the real situation. Now it looks at the partner as a beautiful person, rather than if the water is muddy, it's going to be a shark.
Yeah. You see the whole picture, that like that one comment that could have triggered you with no clarity, you see in context as like not a problem.
Yeah, you suddenly see an ugly person. That's what it is. The mind makes it ugly. And whereas if the water is clear, the partner is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Because this is where Chinese medicine looks at beauty. True beauty is when the mind is calm. Yeah. So that means the vision is clear and we can see. So calming the mind is category number one. And so obviously there's lots of ways how to do it. And in Chinese medicine, we always follow the qi cycle as a result of that, because we focusing at calming the mind, the most important skill to have. And that's why we always start the day before everyone gets up. We always start early. We need to be up before stress hits us, before it becomes frantic. So up at a time. So usually with lots of relationships we have children, the children usually sleep longer these days. By nature, always they keep the baby asleep a bit longer, unless you've got a period where there's lots of waking up during the night. But it's only a short aspect of the time of the relationship. Usually has got the ability, we got the opportunity to always have some space for ourselves first. So this is where Chinese medicine states that we need to start the day with setting up space for ourselves. What's happening in the West? Most people wait till later in the evening to have space for themselves. It's exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. So this is what I see with most of the people I see in my clinic. In all those decades I've been working as a therapist, people, and I talk about it in my book, Clock On. It's time, because my book Clock On about the qi cycle outlines why at 9 p.m. people suddenly want to be by themselves. But what happens is the energy moves into Sen Jiao, and Sen Jiao is a mystical organ function. It regulates the emotions to make it flow. What it means is we suddenly feel like we have space for ourselves. We are in a space where we feel safe. But we are supposed to be asleep. And because what happens at function from 9 p.m. onwards is designed to take us into the realms which is responsible for clearing the body of toxins and to refresh the blood, so that when we get up early, we got the ability to experience a calm mind. Yeah. So once we experience a calm mind in the morning, we actually lay the foundation for a calm mind for the rest of the day. Yeah. So if we wake up and get straight frantic, the mind is not calm. And what happens now is we will automatically will be reactive to everything around us. And usually the person we feel most close to and most comfortable with is where the reactive pattern gets expressed the most free, without any inhibitations.
They're the soft target.
Yeah, but once you release that, once you release the energy, it usually goes into the periphery outside, and now the person reacts to the situation. Now you get caught up in a turmoil that never actually comes to a point of fruition. So Chinese medicine states, like, if we get caught up in the argument, it's already too late. We, in Chinese medicine, or the Taoists say, we don't want to get caught up in arguments. We want to be in a state before we prevent the argument, because the argument always takes us away from the inner world towards the periphery, towards the branches. And in there, we can't treat the cause of the problem. So arguing about each other will actually not cause any change, other than people feel guilty afterwards and feel, okay, let's try to sort this out again. Yeah. But it's actually not doing anything in terms of building a deep connection. So that's why we need to find the moment where we can calm the mind before it gets frantic. So a lot of people say that I need my sleep. Okay, according to my research, it's more important to have a calm mind than have extra sleep, because that extra sleep is most likely not beneficial anyway. It's more like an exhausting sleep. It's like exhaustion is actually not a beneficial sleep. So whereas if you focus on getting up early in order to calm the mind first, you actually will guarantee to sleep the next night very deeply. And that means you will get the quality of sleep. And in Chinese medicine, we focus on quality sleep, not quantity of sleep. You can get in 6 hours sleep or 5 hours sleep more than other people would get in 10 hours if you know how to transcend. And in order to have a deep sleep, to transcend the brainwaves to the lowest level, we need to have a calm mind. All right. So once we have that in place, once we know how to calm the mind, and we now can move to category 2, which means calming the emotions. So in Chinese medicine, there's a progression. We can't calm the emotion without, first of all, knowing how to calm the mind. Yeah. So why do we need to calm the emotions? Because obviously emotions is where a lot of the suppressed information stores. And if the emotions are up, it brings up to the surface energetics and information that actually doesn't belong to the relationship. It's the property, it's the property of the person, of the individual, but not domain of the relationship. So, so by calming the emotions, what happens is we actually operating with our partner on a level where our inner deep-seated suppressed issues aren't getting triggered, aren't part of the relationship. So this is where practices such as yoga and Tai Chi are coming into. And that's why the yogis and Tai Chi practitioners both say for ever since it has been created, which is around 5,000 to 8,000 years, according to the scriptures. That's how long we have been exposed to techniques such as yoga and Tai Chi. They say without the practice, this is actually not possible to elevate to a higher level. Because we look at the relationship as a means to cultivate the connection to the deepest level possible, so that we build something profound rather than operate on the surface. So we're really engaging with the person as a means to have a happy experience of life, which is a result of engaging, moving towards something profound rather than scratching the surface and doing something mundane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So calming the emotions is the domain of making liver chi move. And that's where we need to look into like the core exercises that I've always been mentioning about, like the 15 minutes core exercise, the body weight exercise. It's in fact a prerequisite for a happy relationship. Because what it does, it actually goes into the core of where the suppressed emotions are, and it will actually mobilize them and free them. Once they are freed, they will not become the trigger for being triggered in a relationship as a reactive pattern. That's the dynamic. We need the ideas to get in touch with those emotions, and the practices of Tai Chi and yoga are essential for that. So if you don't want Tai Chi and yoga, that means you don't want to really evolve to a higher level. That's what basically the yogis are saying. Yeah. So that means a lot of people say, those practices are not for me. I said, yeah, it's your choice. That means you're happy with where you are. Yes. But if you want to move on from where you are, we need techniques. And those techniques take us into the inner world of the suppressed emotions. And once I bring that forward, that means I can look at it in my own pace, away from the partner. That means I can look at it and I know what it is. And then I develop self-awareness to that particular emotion. So when I get triggered, I can observe it. That's my own issue. Got nothing to do with the relationship. So in that moment, because I already understand how to calm my mind, I understand how to calm the emotion, I will not bring this forward. And that means I will engage with whatever the factor is. I will engage with it on a different level. Yeah? So after having calmed the mind, we therefore can calm the emotions. That leads us now to category 3, enhanced digestions of food. So why food? Food provides blood. Food provides life force. Food is responsible for yin to be up. If the nutrient absorption is effective, what it means is I'm able to look at myself from a point of peace. I want to receive my partner. I can listen. I have the yin. If nutrients are absorbed, I have yin. If I have yin, I am able to listen to my partner. The food provides the natural yang. If I have good yang, I want to express my feelings. If I have good yin, my self-worth is high, I feel sexy. If I have good food, my yang is up, I want to be sexual. Yeah. And suddenly you have like you've got a healthy romantic interaction based on true forces rather than imbalanced forces. Yeah? And that means sexual interaction becomes natural. So if the mind is calm and we are able to calm the emotions, that means the organ function is relaxed. If the organ function is relaxed, the food that we eat during the day will be beautifully absorbed and it will produce lots and lots of qi. So if we have lots of qi, we are able to engage with the vision of the relationship, because the relationship that we're engaging with and the connection we develop, we want to move that to a higher level, because moving towards a specific goal is what makes us happy. So if we can see that we're moving together towards something, we experience the happiness. So, so that means the mind is calm, the emotions is calm, the organs are relaxed, nutrient absorption is high, we digest food, qi is up. Now it's ready for the fourth category, which is the ability to reduce stress. All right, stress comes into position 4, not first. This is a totally different way of looking at disturbances factors in our life than, for example, how Western medicine looks at it. So in Western science, in talking in the Western therapies, we always talk about reduce your stress. You need to get stress out of your system. Mm-hmm. It's just it's the word. Just don't get stressed. What does it mean? Yeah. What does it mean? How many times do we hear that? You need to get less stress. I need stress management. What does that mean? Chinese medicine is very practical, very simple. It looks at just really to the core of what does it mean. If we know how to calm the mind, if we know how to calm the emotions, if the digestion is high, that means nutrient absorption is the top level, we are able to reduce stress, the impact of stress. Mm-hmm. We can't prevent not having stress. If we don't have stress, we don't grow. Mm-hmm. So people come to my clinic and say, they tell me I need less stress. And I say, no, you need more stress, because otherwise you can't grow. Yeah. Yeah. It's like going to the gym and putting like 1 kilogram on the bench press. It's no stress. Yeah. But not getting any results. Or go to the gym and employ someone to work out for you.
Yeah, it's not gonna. You're just not gonna get the same result.
Yeah. You need the stress factor, and in the stress, we then read how to work with our mind, with our emotions, and to relax the organs. So the stress factor is important. So for I am in a happy relationship. We are together for over 25 years, and we work in a very stressful area, which is the publishing industry. The publishing industry is regarded by many as the most stressed area that usually destroys relationship. Because of the stress factor, because you're constantly dealing with unseen circumstances. You're constantly dealing with a lot of idiots. There's always disrupting factors. There's always something not going right. There's always an email not passed forward. There's always a book there's always something not right. Yeah. And so basically every industry that is worthwhile for you to grow will be highly stressful. Yeah. You can't have an industry where you want to grow and not having stress. If there's no stress, there's no growth. So therefore, we need to find a way how to work with that, because if we don't understand how to work with stress, it will have a negative impact on our relationship. Yeah. So lots of business relationships crash because of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the like author couples that that my wife and me met over the past 20 years, most of them are divorced by now because of the stress factors, because you're constantly dealing with a situation where you have no money and you spend every cent, and you suddenly have weeks without any cent. And then you got suddenly lots of money coming in, and then you suddenly got lots of bills coming in, and then you got more invoices coming in, then you got money. And so if you don't try and calm the mind, don't calm the emotion, and if you don't have the digestive process in place to provide lots of qi in order to have the yin to listen and the yang to engage, the stress will become a pathology, and now it becomes reactive pattern. It means I need to fight. And now obviously it needs to look at as being the partner being the problem, as not pulling the pill, not pulling the pin, and things like that. So
yeah, I've got to say, at 22, I was having a pretty rough year. I'd say it's one of the most challenging years of my life. And if it wasn't for the yin and yang and understanding that philosophy and doing the opposite, I don't know if I'd be here. And that's all I was so stressed. I could not deal with anything. I just knew I had to do the opposite of what I was doing. And that would bring me closer to balance. That saved my life.
Yeah, it's just because if we understand, like this is why, that's why my experience with high intensity exercise is so important. Because in high intensity exercise, you're dealing with high stress level, but you need to learn how to calm the mind, how to calm the emotion, how to relax the organ while you do the workout. Otherwise, you cause damage, and then you're sore and you can't work out for days or maybe weeks, or you cause injury. Yeah. So because I work out every day and I haven't had a day off in 25 years, I always follow this principle. Like I go very intense in my exercise, but I look at calming the mind, calming the emotion, relax the organ into it, and then build the qi as a result of that. And that means I got the foundation to deal with stress. So once again, a practice is essential, a physical practice is essential to deal with stress. Because that connection has been drawn by all major universities, that the exercise will benefit the experience, the impact of stress. Because you are forced to listen to your body when you exercise. You are forced to relax when you go. Otherwise, you override it and you will have injury. So it provides a perfect foundation how to translate it into the business, but then also to translate it into the relationship. So from that perspective, the relationship and the exercise are very similar. Yeah, it's the same thing. So you want to get a high stress level, but transcend into it. Don't react. So if you're doing a hardcore deadlift or really full-on squats with lots of weight, you can't get caught up in stress. You can't react. If you react, you're going to just blow your fuse in the spine. Yeah. So that's obviously where like intensity weight training, like in Kung Fu, you have to be so in the moment, so relaxed. Otherwise, when you do the execution of that punch that is so fast, it can blow the spine. Yes. So you have to be fully self-aware about who you are in that moment and how to relax. So that means you are forced and conditioned to relax. And if you do that on a daily basis, you develop the skill of relax into a stress factor. So if the relationship now triggers a stress factor, which is essential for growth, you relax into it rather than react. And that's obviously the key. Yeah. And now, as we have all the 4 categories in place, calming the mind leads to calming the emotion. Calming the emotion leads to enhancing digestion. Digestion leads to reducing stress. Now we can move to category 5, which is being clear about ourselves and our energetic patterns. Now we can actually transcend and sink into ourselves, and we can now observe who we are. Yeah. And now we can see what is our strength, what is our weakness. We can see what is actually what drives me, but also being clear about how I react to other people in certain circumstances. So I got now the level of the high self-awareness. So it's self-actualization according to Maslow. Maslow has looked at a similar sort of principle. Yeah, it's interesting how all the dynamics like Alexander Lowen from the 60s, Maslow, like whatever these people are, they're all derived, looked at from the yogi dynamic and Tai Chi dynamic and Chinese medicine dynamic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I can't look at who I am, I can't be clear about myself and my energetic patterns. If I haven't calmed my mind, calmed my emotion, and haven't reduced my stress, only then can I see who I am, because by that I have really conquered myself. I have battled myself on every level. Now I can see, I am a stallion. I am a donkey. I'm a tiger. Yeah. So, I'm a duck. I'm a crocodile. That's how Chinese medicine looks at the dynamics, because we always look at the animal dynamic as being simplifying how we act in certain situations. For example, you can't say a racehorse is better than a donkey. Okay, you can't train a donkey to win the Melbourne Cup. Doesn't matter how much money you invest into the donkey. Turning up with a donkey at the Melbourne Cup is a failure.
Yeah.
You will not win. Yeah? But you take the donkey to Colombia and you smuggle 2 tons of cocaine over the border and you make more money than the racehorse.
Yeah. Everything has its strength, absolutely.
Everything got its strengths, yeah? A crocodile, if you swim in the water and get near to a crocodile, it will do the death roll on you.
Yeah.
But if it's on a tree, it can't do that.
Yeah.
But a monkey on a tree can do stuff that the crocodile can't do in the water. And so a tiger can accelerate 0 to 80 faster than a Formula One car. So we got in, like the power of the cobra, of the snake, is faster than the acceleration in a positive sense. It's actually negative acceleration. It goes backwards in time. It's so fast we can't comprehend it. So at the end, lifts 8 times its weight. That's like me, 100 kilos of body weight. I would lift a car, 8-kilogram car over my head and carry it around. That's what ants do. A bark flea, the biggest enigma in biology, jumps 50 times its size. That's like me, was nearly 2 meters. I jump up and I land in Bundaberg and do another jump and I'm in Cairns.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
So everyone has got a certain force in us that is given to us. And the idea is to understand our strengths. If we understand our strengths, we will provide the essential ingredient for the relationship to take it to the next level. Because the happy relationship is a result of moving towards a worthy ideal. And that worthy ideal is something that is infinite according to Chinese medicine. Whoever the person we engage with in the relationship, that connection that we cultivate and develop, it's infinite. We have been working on that before, and we will keep working on that. So New Age people would call that soulmates. Yeah. So that the connection is what makes us able to build this. Without the connection, we can't do that. So can you imagine a crocodile teams up with the strengths of a tiger, teams up with the strengths of a donkey, teams up with the strengths of the bark flea. You're Mr. Universe. Yes? Yeah. So that's why we need the other person, why we need other people, which is why relationships are essential. So what your partner provides, you can't do. Your partner might have the strengths of the crocodile while you have the strengths of the racing horse. Put it together, my God. But the views don't mix in terms of common ground.
Yeah. That's where a bit of irritation can come up with there's a lack of understanding.
Well, it's got to be a lot of triggers. The crocodile is going to say to the horse all the time, why do you always do this? And the horse says, why do you always do this death roll shit? Yeah. It's like an endless merry-go-round. So in order to understand our strengths and look at our strengths from a perspective so that it will become beneficial to everyone and around us. What we need is like looking first of all, how to calm the mind, how to calm the emotions, how to support our organ functions to aid digestion, therefore to reduce stress. Now we have the ability to really clearly identify our strengths, because in order to calm the mind, calm the emotions, relax the organs, and therefore to reduce stress, we have discovered our strengths. We have discovered if we are a crocodile or if we are a racehorse. Now, because we got the ability for visibility, our partner, we can see what our partner's strengths is. Now we can bring it together, communicate with that, and now say, okay, we can build an incredible emporium here. We can build something awesome here. That's how whatever God is or Tao is in Chinese medicine has created yin and yang, so that yin and yang work together. And that's the letter of yin and yang. That's how we build and we move up. So it's an incredible journey once we understand how to get category 1 to 4 in place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really is the key to all the things like.
And that just comes right back to that, the lifestyle, the chi cycle, lifestyle medicine.
Yeah.
And I know some of you on the call have heard me say it, but definitely, encourage everyone that hasn't seen more of Jost's work and check out his book, Clock Onto Health. I'm going to put some links in the chat box so you can go to his website and buy that book. It's such a foundation for all of this. And right now, a lot of people are really experiencing a lot of challenges in relationships and, being locked up in houses and things like that. Unfortunately, a lot of people are trapped in very reactive patterns with each other. And for some, it's become quite destructive, but for others, it's been actually a really nice time. If you can deal with your own issues and get that clarity about your strengths and that fulfilling goal that you're moving towards, COVID hasn't been a bad time. It's been awesome.
The thing is, if you follow the chi cycle, you will be able to cultivate a happy relationship. It's a fact, because you constantly, every 2 hours, you address certain parameters that will calm the mind, calm the emotions, that will aid digestion, that will reduce stress, and it enables you to look at your strengths.
Yeah.
Before I finish, I wanted to show some techniques that will immediately calm. But there is some other thing that Chinese medicine is very big on, and it's obviously looking at your zodiac, investigate your zodiac sign. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because Chinese medicine is big on zodiac, and because if you investigate the zodiac sign, you will understand why you react to certain people in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like a Cancer has got a totally different reaction to a Pisces. An Aquarian has got a totally different reaction to circumstances than a Taurus. So investigating the zodiac, which indicates your original nature and your makeup, because you're born under that influence in order to represent that influence of the Tao. That's your, what Chinese would say, that's your aspect of God. And the idea is to bring that forward, which is why zodiac astrology is a sacred science in Chinese medicine and in Ayurvedic Indian medicine.
Yeah.
So if you understand your own zodiac, you know how you react to certain circumstances and to certain people. And having been a counselor in all those years, it is almost 40 years, decade now, I always look at date of birth as a result of getting an indication about what's the zodiac here, what's the force that makes the person react in certain circumstance in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get a Scorpio, it's different to if I have someone who's a Gemini. And so if you don't know the zodiac, it's very difficult to get a real complete picture of it, because in Chinese medicine, it says we come from the stars. That means we come from the stars means our makeup, the soul matrix and your physical matrix is directly connected to the stars. And the fact that we got 12 planets in a solar system and 12 organ system, each organ relates to a certain star. Once again, for example, the kidneys relate to Uranus, and the lungs relate to Mars, and all kind of stuff. There's incredible connections. Then with each of the yin and yang configurations, you've got different planetary influences, which is all lead to your incredible discovery of your forces and your power. In Kung Fu, in Chinese Tai Chi, we work with Zodiac in order to work out what is actually our strengths, where's our weakness, and then we obviously develop the weakness rather than the strengths. And so in relationships, that's obviously another crucial thing. I found that looking at Chinese Zodiac and Western Zodiac combined, you got a really good picture. Like the Chinese do everything in years, like 12 years, and Western do everything in 12 months. So, for example, if you are a Gemini under the in the year of the rat, it's different to if you're Gemini in the year of the tiger. And then you got a 5 element each involved with each of the zodiac. So you got the earth tiger, then you got the wood tiger and the water tiger. And suddenly you open up like a rabbit hole of influences that is incredible. But the more you start looking into it, am I a dog? Yeah, I'm a dog, but
Stephanie's asked if you're with a rabbit.
I'm a dog. Yes, I'm a dog. That's correct. But with a rat, not with a rabbit.
I found Zodiac life-saving as well. Like, it just gave me so much more empowerment to understand life when I was a young fella. And yeah, so Nicole and I are both fire dragons, and it gets a bit fiery and intense at times.
Yeah, that's good. The same as my wife and me. We both are scorpions. Yeah, and whenever we mention that to people, who are you? I'm Scorpio. What's your wife? She's also Scorpio. Everyone's like, oh.
Oh, yeah. There's a bit of truth in there, hey?
Really, really well.
Yeah.
Because as long as you transcend all the 4 categories, you understand the strengths.
Yeah.
So the compatibility factors is purely on the sense of, if you discover that it's not working, then obviously Chinese medicine is very strong in recommending to terminate the relationship.
Yeah.
Because if the relationship if the energetics don't mix, it doesn't matter how you look at it from all different angles, if they don't mix, then the relationship can make you sick, or will make you sick. Yeah. So that's why a lot of relationships by nature will collapse. And so, but Chinese medicine also states that actually the relationship was necessary in order to understand something. Yeah, so we are drawn to that particular person in order to understand something. Once we realize what we need, and usually one person will break up, and the breakup is always in line with how nature wants us to move. So, and that means, because out of the result of that is we then can move on to the next connection, and eventually we are ready for that deeper connection because we discovered lots. Yeah. So Chinese medicine would say there is educationship, and then there's the relationship.
And the education ship can be good and it can be painful.
Yes. So that's obviously where eventually we understand, is it a relationship or is it an education ship? Yeah. And so that's where, but there's a few things we can do in order to transcend thought. And obviously the most important thing is herbs and keeping the organs moving free. That's obviously Chinese herbs, like the liver, all liver herb formulas that make liver qi move are essential for happy relationships. Anything that makes your liver move will generate a happy relationship, will provide the grounds for a happy relationship. And it's because if the liver is stagnant, it's very difficult to engage on a proactive level. So Chinese herbs are crucial. And that's also where like Redox obviously comes into, because Redox provides makes the organ flow freely, makes the cellular communication free. That means it will actually provide information amongst the organs, which then leads to calming the emotion, calming the mind, and aiding digestion, and therefore having the ability to reduce stress. Obviously, that's where herbs and Redox are essential. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, the connection we have with people, if we are happy the way it is, we don't need to do practice. We don't need to take supplements. We don't need to take Redox. But if we want to evolve it to the next level, that means we're going to look at everything that supports the freeing of the liver qi, makes the organs move, and things like that. So therefore, we need to look at getting herbs. So the more we want from life, the more we need to invest. That's how it is.
Yeah.
The more we want to build it up. And the relationship, to take it to the highest level, is the ultimate goal, because intuitively we are drawn to that. Intuitively, we want that. We want the soulmate. We want to have that person we can build with. But unless we understand the mechanics around what it all means to keep liver qi flowing and all the other factors in place, it's going to be may not be as beneficial as we intend or expect it to be. And that, therefore, we always need to understand that if we want to build it up, we need to invest. That's how it is. If you want a great outcome, you want to invest. And the invest is herbs, supplements, getting up early, having 3 meals a day, learning yoga, learning Tai Chi, learning breathing techniques, and all kind of stuff. There's a lot of investment required. And the more we invest into it, the more we work towards that, the lesser we need to work on the relationship. That's the aim. That's in a nutshell what Chinese medicine says. For a happy relationship, don't work on the relationship. Work on yourself. That's how simple it is. And that's what we do in my relationship. We've been, as I said, for over 25 years we're together. And that's exactly what we do. And we work on ourselves, which then enhances the relationship. So we don't have interference in our goals. Our goals are purely the domain of the relationship, not personal issues. So personal issues belong to your morning practice. So when I wake up, I go into my room, I do my martial art training. My wife does her yoga. So we don't practice together. We practice in different rooms. So that's like that Chinese thinking. You never practice with your partner. You always go in your own room away from. When you study in the dojos or the martial art temples in China, and you turn up with your partner, they will separate you during the practice. After the practice, yes, you share the room together, you share the bed, you do whatever. But when you practice, always away from each other.
Really?
That is the most important rule in Chinese medicine. You never practice with your partner, because that means you automatically take on the issues of the partner, or you merge that. Or you may say to your partner, don't do it like this, do it like that.
Yep.
So the idea is to be, when you practice, when you wake up, like Chinese medicine says, when you wake up, you slept together in the same bed. When you wake up, you go a different path for what you do your practice. So one person goes into one part of the space, say person A goes into room 1, person B goes to room 2. And then after, when the practice is finished, get back together again.
Yep.
So, and that means you are completely, the idea is in your practice to be by yourself with your own issues, not with the issues of others. And that works wonders.
Yep.
Yeah. And then all day you can be together. Yes. Then you can do whatever. But when it comes to practice, different rooms separate.
Yeah. That goes along with health as well. The idea of being self-responsible. You got to deal with your own stuff. Like the end of the day, our health is our creation, and our relationships are our creation, and that starts with our own personal creation of who we are.
Yeah.
There. Awesome. One thing I wanted to talk about, Jost, was and the whole Zodiac thing. To me, and our conversation the other day about that, that makes much more sense of the arranged marriages as well. Like back in the day where a lot of the elders in the tribe or the society would keep the records, the genealogy records, would keep the Zodiac records and try and matchmake in order to make things work in the paradigm of survival or procreation, rather than where we're going now, which is about fulfillment and happiness and evolution. So I thought that was a really interesting point. But you talked about date night and not making date night as a weeknight, because your experience was that, you know, it's not the same as a...
Oh, yeah. Yes. According to in my first book about the Chi cycle back in 2007, the book got published, Perfect Day Plan, and which is like an old book by now. But in there, I suggested to schedule sex in a relationship, to book it in. And because the book was very popular and it sold all over the world, but Australia was very popular. And as a result of that, it had lots of emails. And the emails were all about it. Oh, I should be spontaneous when you feel like. The fact is, there's always one person not wanting it, the other person wanting it. Very, very unlikely to get it together on the right mode, because we have too much stress factors in our life. The stress factors are essential. You can't. So in order to have date nights or to schedule sex, you will actually then have the opportunity to get into yourself with your partner and actually having a sacred space. So what I found with people, with clients and with people from the book, if this is done during the week, they found it harder to follow up on it than on the weekend. Because business, if you building a business, that means that business most likely has got its own time zone. And like in our business, we have to work with Europe, our publishers in UK, we got international time zones to work with. So obviously it can easily go like, by the time it comes 5 p.m., the other side of the planet wakes up. For them, it's 9 a.m. So obviously that means if we would have a date night on a Wednesday or like a Tuesday, it would interfere with that stress factor. Yeah. So, but everyone commonly accepts that Saturday or Sunday is like one day off. It's a sacred day. So you can allow that to be a day off. Yeah. So if you make the date night on the weekend, you have the least amount of interferences from the outside forces.
Yeah.
That's what I and the people who through my book who followed it all reported back afterwards. Oh, gee, that really works. Yeah. That's awesome. If you don't book it, the way I say it in Chinese medicine, because sex is an important force to work with, because it's yin and yang, and so if you don't have the romantic connection, the relationship will suffer. That's what Chinese medicine states. So for them, it's crucially important to have the romantic connection. So if you do it once a week at least to have a romantic connection. If you can do it twice a week, yes, do it twice a week, whatever. But as long as the romantic connection is on a regular basis, if it's not booked in, it's easily for it to go by the wayside. So, okay, we do it next week. And then next week comes, we've got too many things on. And the yang takes over, the stress takes over, and suddenly it's a month's gone. And that usually doesn't allow for the soul connection to take place. Because that's what in Chinese medicine sex is. Souls come together. That's what it is. So. But we can talk about sex for the next 5 sessions if you want, because there's so much Chinese medicine has to say.
Yeah, I'm sure we might cover that in another one. So it's been another fantastic conversation with you, Jost. That you just got so much knowledge and wisdom. It's been amazing. I'm sure everyone agrees. Pop in the chat box, give your love to Jost for all his offering. This has been recorded. It is in the Renewers Redox Facebook group. So ask to be a part of that group. Get back to the person that invited you to find out more about the Redox every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. redoxtalks.com. You can see a presentation on that. And Jost's website is in the chat group. You can actually save that chat group too if you want to keep all of those links and things that I put in there, as well as a bunch of other interesting things that we've covered in the past as far as breathing techniques, transcendental meditation, all of that sort of stuff. There's been a heap of great things that we've covered over the weeks, and it looks like the links are getting so long they're not just copying and pasting anymore. So every week I'm adding to them. So I'll do it in 2 lots. There you go. But do yourself a favor, get that book, Clock Onto Health. It'll change your life. And also the herbs are available from Jost's website. Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for all you do and all you are. You are a force to be reckoned with. You're one of those unrelenting forces of the universe, Jost.
All right. Thank you so much, Justin.
Stay well, everyone. Catch you next week. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Bye.